Hi there, and welcome to our first weekly 355 Code JavaScript challenge. This week we are using a challenge from a popular website, JS Challenge. And the mission is to create a function that takes an array of strings. For example, this array that I've written here on the bottom. So you can see it's an array called myArray, and it's made up of strings. Okay, so this shouldn't be numbers or Boolean or anything like that, just strings. And then it returns the longest string. So this function basically takes a look at this array, finds the longest string, and returns it. And you can use, let's say, console.log at the end to just log the function with, for example, myArray. Now it won't do anything because we haven't written the function yet, but and then in your console you should actually get the it should say the very ugly. Okay, that would be the answer in this case. So I recommend trying to solve this in two steps. So first, try solving it without any kind of JavaScript method. I'm sure if you take this challenge and you put it in Google, then you'll find many answers to the challenge, and some of them will be using a specific JavaScript method. And I challenge you to try to solve it without that, just to use very, very simple things that we may have learned in our courses, or that you really could solve with very basic JavaScript, and then only then try and find that specific JavaScript method that would give a more concise solution. So that's the challenge. And next week we will have the answer to the challenge. You can also check out our blog for a written description of the challenge. And I recommend subscribing to our channel if you want to follow up and get the answer next week. If you want to have a go at the challenge, you can stop the video now. And what I'm going to do is give a few hints for how to approach this challenge. So I'll be giving 3 hints, and I will stop in between each hint. So you can either stop now, or you can stop after any specific hint and have a go by yourself. And please, you can leave your answers to the challenge in the comments below, or send it to us by message on Facebook or Instagram. Just please share your solutions. We're very curious to see how you solve the problem. So hint number 1 is to try and break down the function into comparing specific items in the array. So in order to find the longest string, we're going to need to be comparing. So for example, we're going to need to compare the good with the bad, and then we're going to need to compare the bad with the very ugly, and we're going to be needing to do comparisons like that inside the array. So try and have that in mind and come up with a way to break down the problem into basically just a bunch of comparisons between 2 items within the array. So that was hint number 1. If you're continuing now, you're going to be hearing hint number 2. So hint number 2, this is in order to solve step 1, so without a JavaScript method, and that is to use a loop, specifically a for loop, and basically take this array and loop through it and do the comparison that I mentioned. So that is hint number 2. And now for the last hint number 3. This is regarding solving with step 2, how to solve with the JavaScript method. So the JavaScript method that you need to use here is called .reduce. And basically what it does is it does that comparison that I mentioned in a way that's very specific to arrays, so it's not as generic as a for loop. And so the end code will be more concise.